Hello and welcome to the McTaggart Attack podcast. I'm Kevin McTaggart, and this is my podcast where I talk about whatever I want. I give my thoughts and opinions on anything that comes to mind and decide to put it on my podcast. That's essentially how it works. You can email me McTaggartAttack@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at KevMcT. That's KEVMCT. Or the first three letters of my first and last name. You can also find the Facebook page for the McTaggart Attack podcast on Facebook. Yes. And a lot of times in the recent months, I have a hard time trying to think of topics for my podcast. I try to put out as many as I can a week. And that seems to work. But there are times when I'm not really sure what to talk about. And a lot of those times I just sort of don't try to think about it. After I've been thinking about it for a little while, I try not to think about it. I try to just not think about it and just let things come to me in whatever way they come to people, what variety of ways. I'll have people tell me stuff that I should do my podcast episode on. I did one last week about crying babies in restaurants. Or things will happen and I'll just be okay, I'll do a podcast episode on this, or I'll do a podcast episode on that. It's just things will happen. But today's episode is one of those times. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do a podcast episode on, and I was at work today, and I work in Lebanon, New Hampshire, on Centerra Parkway, where the co-op is, where that Courtyard by Marriott is. I work there. And that road, Centerra Parkway, is probably one of the worst roads in the Upper Valley. I think now that the road into Weathervane has been repaved over finally and the potholes have been removed, Centerra Parkway was by far the worst road to drive on, with all of the ridiculous potholes. And I did a podcast a few months ago, potholes in the Upper Valley. And I don't know if that podcast episode had anything to do with it, but the Weathervane Road has been repaved, and Centerra Parkway has been repaved. Or should I say, repaved. Because I wasn't sure if it's ever tried to have been repaved before. What they've usually been doing over the years is just filling in the potholes, But I was at the co-op last week when they started repaving Centerra Parkway, and I saw a guy that I used to work with at TomTom, which is also on Centerra Parkway. And I asked him, hey, when was the last time they actually repaved Centerra Parkway? And he was like, yeah, it had to be 1990, whenever the hell they built it. Whenever they built the road. From what I understand, they have not repaved that road since they built it. Whenever they built it. I mean, it looks like they've never repaved it. Because it looks terrible. It's always looked terrible. Like, I worked there from 2004 to 2009. And the road was terrible then. Then I started working in that area again late last year, and the road is worse. So they hadn't repaved it. And now, like last week, they repaved it. They had been repaving it. It's taken about 2 weeks because, they always give these jobs to the lowest bidder. But they've repaved it, and it's great. The potholes are gone for now until they come back. But it's just crazy. It's great that they're back. It's fantastic. I can't wait for them to finally finish. They're almost finished. I think they finished today, or they should be finished today. They might finish a little bit more tomorrow. They'll definitely be done tomorrow. But something happened this afternoon because my office, our window, faces the road, faces Centerra Parkway, and I didn't notice this at first. I didn't notice this. I wasn't the one to notice this. But my coworkers, Kim and Christy, noticed this. Mostly Kim, because she sits right in front of the window. But, so they paved the road, they paved one side of it today. And then they were, in the morning they paved over one side of it. And then they were paving over the other side of it. And the truck would go past it, the truck was repaving it, and my coworkers witnessed people crossing the street, and walking on the freshly laid pavement. And it's not like the truck wasn't even around. The truck was 30 to 40 feet away from the crosswalk. The truck was right there. And there are people crossing the street, walking on this fresh pavement. And it was just so goddamn mind-boggling. The truck was right there. And these people are crossing the street. And some of them, from what I was told, were actually looking at their feet. Oh, hey. Oh, the pavement's still fresh. Oh, my. I think there was a little kid that crossed the street. And they're so it's that first half, that one half of the road, side of the road, was still fresh and not to be walked on. And people were walking on it. And it's they told me about it, and I'm I'm going to go out there and take a picture. So I went out there and took a picture, and lo and behold, there were footprints in the pavement. And it's just these people's shoes are ruined forever. And when I walked out there, also, there was a bicyclist who drove on the road too. So I'm there's bike tracks, there's footprints. What the hell? How freaking stupid can you be to walk on fresh pavement when the truck had just laid it 10 minutes ago? Still not good to walk on. There were cones by the crosswalk that probably should have let you know, hey, new pavement, don't cross here. Freaking idiots. Idiots. People don't pay attention to anything nowadays. Anything. People don't read anymore. They don't read warning signs. They don't read things. They don't read invitations when they're supposed to RSVP. They obviously don't they don't notice pavement trucks laying pavement. People are stupid. People are really fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. Should be ashamed of themselves for being so damn stupid. Anyway, that's all I've got for this week's this episode of the McTaggart Attack podcast about stupid freaking people who walk on goddamn pavement. Be aware of your goddamn surroundings. And that's the bottom line. If you smell what the McTaggart Attack podcast is cooking. Cooking. Like pavement was cooking and these freaking idiots walked on the pavement. Ridiculous.